All right, I guess we're at 5:35, and the stream is going, and we have 10 participants now. Should we get started or do we want to hold?
Let's go.
Okay, great. So I'm Vipal. I'm communications on board, and we just have kind of a more of a discussion type meeting, so no slide deck. And for new arrivals, I'm putting the agenda in chat again. And so you can hear my son karateing in the background. So I'm going to mute myself now so that Jason can give his budget update. And as we understand it, there's some spending opportunities too. Go ahead, Jason.
Do we need to do introductions first, or?
Oh, I suppose we certainly could do that. So why don't we do that? I'm Vipal. Hello. Jason would be next.
I'm Jason. I'm a parent of Sven and Edie in 3rd and 1st grades.
I'm Mandy, and I'm also a parent of Sven and Edie.
I'm Alicia. I'm a parent of Sebastian and Amelia.
I'm Sarah. I'm a parent of Kayla in 3rd grade.
I'm Rachel. I'm a parent of Eleanor in 4th grade and Peter in kindergarten.
I am Rosa. I'm a parent of Oscar in 2nd grade.
I'm Lauren. I'm a parent of Lena in kindergarten.
I am Linda, the family liaison.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Diego De Paz, and I'm the principal at Bancroft.
All right, that was everybody. Great. Well, I'm the treasurer, and I finally got to pulling in some bank statements and those kind of things, and tried to start building a format to track the finances a little more thoroughly. And as they've been a little bit neglected between school years. And so I have some data to share. It's not really cool, but it'll spur some conversation. So I'm gonna share my screen. Can you enable screen sharing for me, Vipal?
Yep, go for it now.
Can everyone see my Excel file?
Yep.
All right. So I pulled in some data and just, again, I want to just give all this as sort of some context for maybe some conversations to be had. But if you can look where I'm highlighting, we're currently sitting on about $47,000 in the account by which we spend money. And we're sitting on about $35,000 in a savings account, which, as far as I can tell, for the last several years, since 2016, there's been no withdrawals from it. It's just been accruing interest. And so in aggregate, we're at about $83,000 at the moment. Of course, there's probably some pending expenses and those kind of things. There's about $1,600, I think, for the reading group stuff that we approved for Sue Francis previously, as an example. And there might be some other things. So I was hoping if there was if anyone had any information on any pending expenses or those kind of things, that we could start to capture some notes on those. And then just, I don't know, because it was interesting for me, the school board's finances over time. You can see it's sort of grown a little bit every year, but has grown quite a bit so far this year, and is up to about is 47K, as I mentioned. This spike was because somebody had purchased, a previous treasurer of the board purchased a certificate of deposit of $14,000 for a playground. And it came due 2 years later. So that's what sort of spiked that. So that's where we're at. Over time, this is how the balance has sort of ended at the end of the school year. And I made up an arbitrary date of August 1st as the beginning of a new school year. I don't know. The expenses don't end that cleanly, but just for purposes of reporting, that's what I did. So you can see it's grown pretty well over time. And we're sitting, again, just in this spending account, the savings account is kind of just steadily grown. We earn interest on that every month. In years past, we've the school board has spent money or allocated money to spend on staff appreciation, and you can see how we've done with that over time. And so wanted to put that out there into the world that we, to my knowledge, don't have anything spent at the moment. And I don't know if we have anything planned, but just wanted to put that out there because staff appreciation seems as important as ever, given what the staff are going through. And then there's been amounts budgeted for family involvement. This would be like school evenings, like the raffles and getting helium tanks for the helium balloons at family events and those kind of things. And that also has nothing spent or possibly budgeted for. There was none for some reason budgeted in last year's, but we spent about $584. And I had one other thought, and I forgot what it was. I apologize. I hope to be able to sort of go through and do some manual work to code past expenses as well, and get a little bit more depth of reporting if anyone's interested in it beyond me. But wanted to, I guess, say first, are there any questions or thoughts? Oh, actually, I looked into certificate of deposits again, given that a lot of this money goes in years past to field trips. And since we weren't any, I called the bank that manages our accounts today and or hosts our accounts, and the rates of return on CDs right now are 0.24%, so probably not worth the effort. Any questions on the budget as it stands or the finances?
I'm just curious that this year, so our PTO has taken on a couple of extra new expenses, particularly the Zoom one, which is a recurring expense. So if we were to project, is that, I mean, how do we sort of track that responsibly? I don't know, which is why I'm not the treasurer.
Yeah, I didn't, similarly, I didn't know, being brand new, I don't know what might, you know, even look at this number, like, is every spring, do we pay X for something? I couldn't quite get into that level of detail. I started doing some other work, and the PTO meetings for the Zoom, for example, we pay $16 a month for that. So I certainly can project that out for the balance of the year, but and sorry, these are so small. But other than, yeah, I just, if you can, anybody can shout out some of those kind of things, that would be helpful to.
Yeah, and I only bring it up because I think this is great, Jason, because it gives us kind of that historical perspective, and we see kind of what the trend is for us. And I know as a PTO board, we're certainly open to taking on new costs because of the new situations we're facing, which I think is great also to support our teachers. I just wanted to get a sense of, since the work you did here kind of showed the historical expenses, how we capture these new ideas that are coming up with like overspending. But this is great.
Awesome. Thank you.
I just want to call out chat. There was a little back and forth real quick. I think you misspoke a little bit earlier and said school board instead of PTO. Jason,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was just PTO funds. And then, sorry, I've got background stuff going on over here, but did you say you were looking, how do you sort of put together like sort of like the general expense categories in terms of how we do the budget every year? Were you looking for like feedback or pointers on that, Jason?
I would certainly take them. Started looking through all the past files, and I certainly could go through and build them out and aggregate them. But since they're all distinct files, it wasn't something I could do quickly to build them into year over year analysis or anything like that. And some of them are in better states than others. When I said school board, it's because I'm a very nervous presenter. So just nerves got the best of me.
I concur. There's probably variation. I think year over year will be really tough. Or at least not maybe potentially a last year or two. I can only, because that's all I can speak to is I couldn't help you get to that part, but it's kind of a black box going beyond that.
Yeah, and I think maybe an upcoming expense, I think we've talked about it as a PTO, is postage that some of the teachers requested, and I think that was approved at the last meeting, so that may be a reoccurring expense. And then just to provide some, I guess, historical context too, with the, oh man, what's it called? The $14,000 deposit CDD, whatever it is, that was held for playground improvements. And that was before we realized or knew that the playground would be included in the remodeling and construction project and budget. And so that's why that piece was there, and then eventually cashed out because we had a brand new playground that was paid through other funds that PTO did not have to provide any towards that. And then the staff appreciation is, there's Teacher Appreciation Week, and usually PTO has at times provided a lunch on one of those days for staff. And then also they provided a dinner during one of the conference nights. And so that's where a lot of that funding was used for staff appreciation. And I believe last year, at the end of the year, I requested for PTO, every teacher got an individual bunt cake from Nothing Bunt Cakes. And so that was a little treat at the end of the year for staff. And we got a little flower pot too of marigolds. And so I think some of those were the expenses for teacher appreciation.
Nicole did purchase the stamps and they must be en route, and it looks like we got double charged and credited once, but those were ordered just the other day, or today, charged it today.
Great. Any other discussion?
Sorry, can I ask a question as well? And I want to apologize because I don't often come to these, so I feel like I don't have a lot of historical knowledge. And I know we're only in December, but it seems like there hasn't been a ton spent this year. Is that just the nature of distance learning? Is there isn't like supplies and whatnot to purchase, or is there something else that's going on there?
Field trip expenses are usually covered.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I don't know where that is, but every year we are gifted, thankfully, about $11,000 to $12,000 by the Masonic Lodge, or the Cataract Lodge. I think it's number 2 on Bloomington Avenue, and this year they gave us again, I think, $12,000, and so that's usually deposited into this account, and then that's how all of our students go on field trips for free. And then PTO oftentimes will also pick up the transportation expense, which at times is greater than the actual field trip itself. And so I think a lot of those pieces, we stopped going on field trips last year in March, and we had a number of field trips planned in the springtime for kids. And so I think that's where maybe a lot of the less spending is happening, and we can't really go on field trips. One of the things I think, depending on how much longer we're in distance learning, and it might be indefinite for the school year, but I would like to start thinking about how we can get artists in residence or other virtual field trips, or have folks come in. I don't know if that's something that PTO can support, or we can reach out to classrooms and grade levels to see if they have any ideas, but I feel like that might be something too that we could start to look into. I mean, we could have a virtual game night for families, or we could invite a storyteller. I think there's other things that we can, and I know at the last time we surveyed folks, that was one of the asks or requests that came up as kind of some family involvement type things. And so, I'd be more than willing, and I know Linda as the family liaison, we could partner with PTO and figure out ways to make that happen. Not that I want to spend all of our money, but I think there's, other ways that we can fill in the holes that we have with distance learning.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Like take some of that field trip money and use it for like socially distanced field trips.
I also know that fifth graders, we didn't have the camp field trip this year. And so I know there's some funds that usually go towards that to make sure that our fifth graders get that overnight experience, whether it's purchasing the backpacks, or not the backpacks, the sleeping bags or the t-shirts. I know that PTO always supports in that endeavor as well. So I think there's just a lot of things that we normally do and PTO supports that haven't happened because of distance learning. Because whatever's left over
that you would probably find a friendly ear if there were good ideas that were bubbling up through teachers. I think if you want us to give you ideas, I think we could sit around and brainstorm some ideas, but I think we'll also be willing to hear out ideas and support that. I'll just speak as a member there.
Okay.
I think if we certainly walk down this road, my wife is an artist. She's a concert dancer, so modern jazz. So we're part of a whole community of artists who are out of work because of pandemic. So there are certainly a lot of local artists that I think we could all reach out to just in our own networks to sort of invite or bring in. I don't know. And then of course there are the other more traditional kind of clearing houses for these, the MSAB Arts Board and MRAC and other places where artists go for funding. And there are programs that organizations, end user organizations like the school would reach out to and say, hey, who among your group would like to come visit our schools? So like where I'm getting at is, I'm in agreement with this effort, and it's really just a matter of how do we want to sort of do the discerning of which programs to participate in or what artists to bring in, because there certainly is a plethora of dancers out of work that have educational experience, musicians, theater stuff, reading stuff, all of that jazz. There's my own phone book is just full of people like that. So how do we sort of want to make that happen? I think it's a great thing.
Similar note, Diego, I've got a question just because I haven't heard about it and I don't have a fifth grader, but is there a fifth grade band this year? Or fourth graders or fifth graders who were fourth graders last year that were playing an instrument?
Yes, so band did continue this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say too much, but I know that our band teacher has had some personal things. She had a surgery and a couple other things. And so there's been some time, she's just been out. And so it hasn't been as consistent as usual. And she's only 0.3 at our building. So it's basically a day and a half or two and a half days.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it would be, just on that note, just a random idea, just because they're right down our street, but like we've got Blue Tree Music here who does remote like lessons. And is that something that PTO could sponsor for the kiddos who have an instrument at home or are looking for extra engagement? And like, could we do, I don't know, a lesson every other week or whatever it would be, to help them continue to play in some fashion? Like, that's just a random idea.
No, yeah. And I think like V. Paul said, I think there's just a plethora of avenues that we could go down. And so, I have an ILT meeting tomorrow morning. I could also bring it to staff on Wednesday. Just to start brainstorming some things, because they you guys have great ideas. They might also have some great ideas that we can start putting down on paper. And so, if you guys want to send me some ideas or generate some as a PTO, and then I'll connect with the staff as well. I know that we did continue in second grade. We've always had our partnership with the ASI, and they continued that piece as well through second grade. So there are some things that are still happening. And so I think it'd be great to, continue some other partnerships or create some other partnerships through this distance learning piece.
So as an action item type thing, how do we feel about, because basically what we're sort of looking to do here is PTO is going to become what the Minnesota State Arts Board is for the whole state. PTO will be for the School of Bancroft, in that we have end users. We have the 5th grade class, or we have the 2nd grade class, or we have Miss Tiffany's class that would like an experience. And then we would partner them up with or connect them with an artist or an experience that we're funding. So basically we're the nexus point. So I think we just need to sort of have our own little system to sort of understand. And so just so that we sort of are able to sort of be clear and be transparent about how people how our teachers or students can make use of the, get the experiences. So I guess the action item is, how do we as a board want to sort of move forward with that? I mean, what would be considered, when would a good field trip, and I guess this is to you, Diego, when is a good time to try and plug something in? I mean, I don't know what's coming down the pike here in terms of how busy the school year is going to be and whether there is another opening of pseudo free time that we could sort of fill in with.
Yeah, and I would say that's a good question for the teachers. I know normally we've done our units of inquiry in 6-week blocks, and now there's not a strict timeline that we're tied to. And so some units could be 4 weeks, some units could be 10 weeks. And so a lot of the times we tried to tie in our field trips or our experiences to the units of inquiry. And so I think that'd just be a good question to open up to the teachers of when is a good time. I know the end of the quarter is the 28th or 29th of January. And that's always a good transition time where we're, sometimes starting new things. And so it'd be, I would put that question up or pose that question to the teachers during my next staff meeting.
Okay, I think that's great. And I know we have an interest from PTO to sort of communicate out to the teachers about the postage thing. So maybe we could also just sort of draft a letter that's inclusive of this ask and the postage thing and get that to you and Linda to sort of get to the teachers. Is that a fair statement to make?
That'd be great. Yep.
I had a quick question about, so if we're going to be like the nexus point for, teachers request that they want somebody to tie in with their unit, and if we're looking for that person and trying to hire that person, do we have like a set of like parameters? Like, are we going to try to get people who are like either Black, Indigenous, people of color, like try to reach out to, try to ensure that we have a diversity of people represented? Like, are we prioritizing that? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great question. And I think that's why I was sort of raising this point of, are we going to be the nexus? Because then the action of discerning who to allow through our filter, right? So I think we would have to build that, as opposed to simply saying to our teachers, go to this place and find yourself an artist that we'll pay for, right? So it would be the other way, is like, say that there's the Twin Cities Arts Group, there's MRAC, which is a Metropolitan Regional Arts Committee. So they're all for Twin Cities based artists. So another option could certainly be telling our teachers, just go to MRAC and figure out who's on their lists, and then do your own due diligence and come back to us with a price tag, right? So it's a question of whether we want to go that way or whether we want to be active.
We could give them that opportunity, but I also don't want to like put more on the teachers to have them have to do more work if they don't really feel like that's something that they want to be adding to their plate. So like, I'm happy to do it. I just want to make sure like whoever we get really represents our community and like represents, like the entirety of our community of Bancroft. So just being mindful of like who we reach out to.
Well, so I think that's great. So what if as a board of officers, what if we put it on ourselves to sort of come up with a checklist of sorts for that kind of thing? We are going to put out a letter just asking teachers, what are you interested in terms of digital experiences for your students that involve local artists that we would Zoom in or something like that. Since we have our own Zoom account, we could certainly be the mechanism to get them into the classrooms rather than using Google Meet. The reason for that is because we have so much better hosting capabilities in Zoom than Google Meet does. And then we could put it on to the January meeting of once all these details are in place, put in the January meeting of actually implementing or executing. And maybe we could put it out to all of our parents. Hey, do you know a working local artist that has the ability to sort of provide an educational and artist experience, or artisanal experience even, to our students? And so I imagine one of the things we want to look at is not just any old artist, but somebody who actually has worked in K through 12. You know, for example, that would be one of the things I'd like to bring up, is someone who has experience, you know, performing for an elementary school, not really just a band that needs a gig.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
You got a band that needs a gig, Diego? Is that where you left?
No, I'm just, yeah, you could get any band that needs a gig. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of bands out there, I'm sure, that need gigs right now. So no, it can't just be any old band.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm putting through is and that's our 3-step approach here. The board will meet at some point in time over break here to come up with our checklist. Reach out to all the parents that we can reach out to in terms of just a network of artists. Jason can certainly help us figure out how much money we would have the ability to sort of put to this as a pot, and then determine how that's sort of divvied up. And then January meeting is when, and then we have a letter going out to the teachers through Diego asking them what are they interested in. And then by January, we'll have an actual implementation plan to get the board to approve, board as a whole, and move forward with. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to throw in here too, like, can we let the teachers know kind of that this is coming? They do work very collaboratively. You know, each grade team works together. And I know Sue Francis, IB coordinator, to maybe even start thinking of ways and looking ahead to their next units, what might be good things that would fit with that unit of inquiry.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think that's great, Linda. If maybe you and Diego cue it up in that context. I certainly don't have the language for that, but I think the ask would just be, we would like to bring experiences in involving local artists that have educational backgrounds. What would you like? And then you two can certainly cue it up in terms of the units of inquiry and or lining it up.
I would say the timing right now is pretty perfect. We have, like I said, our ILT, which is our instructional leadership team, meets tomorrow. And that's a representative from each grade level and specialists and special education. And then we have our flexible learning day on Wednesday. And so the team can bring that to their collab and have that as a possible ask, or just to set it up to know that it may be coming. So in the planning time, then maybe there's some opportunities, you know, if you know of somebody already, or if there's an opportunity you want to provide the students, then this would be a good time to do that.
Okay, cool. And so then with that note, I'm just putting out there, if someone would like to sort of draft the postage write-up, because I'm actually not exactly clear what we decided on, but then we could make our own letter and get that out tomorrow as well.
I can do that.
We've already told the teachers that they're getting postage.
Oh, great.
Yes, that's great.
So ordered it. So
okay.
Yeah.
It's on the way, and I can just double check with her about all the details and forward anything to you and you can just see if it's new information, and if it's not, then nothing else needs to be done.
Yeah.
Works.
I can also just check. She forwarded the receipt to me, so I can see when the ETA is or whatever.
I think I froze.
Given her email right before the meeting. I did have a question about staff appreciation, and those dinners are probably off, and maybe just plant the seed of thought on what that could look like in the current environment. And you know, you had mentioned was it bunt cake? Forgot the name of that place already, but you know, wanted to just start to think about that, how that could.
I put in the chat just an idea here, and I can vouch for how good it'll be after the holidays here. But my work, Lunds and Byerly's have these like gift baskets, and they're really, the idea is cute. Like it comes with a bunch of like Minnesota-based like goodies, like wild rice, sauces, jams, things like that. But there's different varieties of baskets too. But we thought that was in place of like, we are doing a staff appreciation. We usually do a dinner, and that's not happening this year. So it's really nice to make an order and then they send them all to the individual houses. So it's really like a light lift in terms of just being able to share appreciation. And it also, the delivery option is nice too. So you don't have to worry about gathering up a bunch of things and then sending them out to different houses and things like that. So just an idea, just something easy. I think they're like around 50 or 60 bucks a pop. So not necessarily cheap, but I mean, in terms of what we usually spend on staff at my work, it was about an equivalent. You don't have to worry about other things. So.
And is that just for teachers or would that be for support staff as well?
Oh, I'm all about supporting support staff too.
Yeah, I would really, I know everybody's working so hard this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible we could go to the screen mode where without the budget there? I don't know if we just want to have that up just so I can see.
There we go.
How many staff are there, Diego?
A lot. We have about, I think 74, 75 staff total. That includes office staff, health office staff, custodial staff. So yeah, there's about 75 people total. And just, I just looked it up. Teacher Appreciation Week this year is May 3rd through the 7th.
Alicia, do you know about those gift baskets? Do you know if that's something that can be customized for like people's dietary needs or preferences? Or is that something that fits all?
I'm not sure in terms of how, I know that what we've struggled with was would they add certain items to the basket that were like, that we brought in as extra and they wouldn't do that, but I'd have to look into it in terms of like dietary customizations. They had options. They was just like, that was just, we like the Minnesota local based idea. So.
For like Diego and any of the educators here, like, is that something teachers would be excited about, you think? Like, what do teachers want right now? Like, what do you have any insight into like what would be really helpful or needed or make people feel really appreciated? Like, it's such a hard time.
If you got, time, if you guys can give time, they would love that.
Cash? Like, can we just give teachers cash? No.
Well, I think, I mean, there is some pieces about accepting gifts over certain dollar amounts and things like that. And so I just think we need to be careful. But yeah, I think time, I think any sign of appreciation, I think is always welcome, regardless of if it's a handwritten letter, if it's, a thing of stickers, if it's a coffee gift card. I think anything that shows appreciation is always welcomed. I know we've gotten a number of Christmas cards in the office, and staff have opened them up and been so excited. I got a digital one too from a parent that sent me an email with a Christmas card. Now, to me, that was exciting. So I think any of those pieces would be fun for teachers.
Okay, awesome.
Considering that there's the potential timing of May, we had a discussion last meeting or the meeting before, I think it was last meeting, about a send-off type thing or a moving on type activity, since school, the breaking the band up, as they say. So maybe we could sort of tie some of that message in. It's appreciation, and we're all moving forward to some different places. Some of us might not be back.
No, that's a great idea, Paul, because I do have on my list transition events. And, my hope is that we are in person at some point in the spring, in either, May or the very beginning of June, so that we can have some sort of in-person transition event for a number of our students. Our fifth graders, especially too, that, didn't end the year as fourth graders. And now in fifth grade, they haven't been in school. They haven't had that experience of being the top dogs, I guess, on campus. And so we've always had a promotion ceremony, and I wish we could do something for them as well. So I think that's another potential expense that maybe PTO could support. I mean, you guys have always gotten a cake and the cups and punch for the promotion ceremonies. But my hope is that we're able to have a transition event. So to celebrate our students that will be going to different schools.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this previously, but when you mentioned fifth grade camp and how that can't happen this year, and we were talking about like field trips or things, like, I don't know if there's something that we can do in lieu of camp, just as a special fifth grade thing, but like, it's possible the fifth grade teachers might have some ideas for like how to maybe not replicate that experience, but you know, do something special that's particular to 5th grade. And it's possible that could be rolled in with the transition event, or like tie into that somehow, but.
Yeah, that's another piece that I can connect with them about. And if they have any ideas, maybe, you know, we have IB ambassadors who are 5th graders, and maybe they have some good ideas. I mean, they designed the t-shirt. I'm meeting with them on Wednesday morning to talk about some other pieces that they want to do. So that's something too, we could ask the 5th graders themselves to have a little bit of agency in how they want to celebrate.
Yeah, great idea.
Or what they think would be a good substitute for something you can't replicate.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm simply saying this out loud for the sake of the record, because this is the only way I remember things. But this is something that we're certainly not going to act on now or in January, but we want to keep it active enough, do a little bit of research on our own, particularly with Alicia's Lund's basket idea, or if we're doing the Pie and Mighty in Chicago Ave that Rosa sort of put in the chat. This will just be an active discussion. And I think the cue we'll take is from whatever the school sort of maybe cements for a transition time. I mean, obviously it depends on whether or not the governor opens this up again, right? So yeah, unless there's, I mean, I don't want to cut short discussion. I'm just being mindful of time, but I also wanted to sort of just point out we don't necessarily have to act on it right now since we've got some time.
Awesome.
All right. So any other discussion on the Jason topic?
Do we want to move into the t-shirt idea? So I have Nicole's notes, so I can talk about that. So we had talked previously about having a t-shirt for every Bancroft student. Nicole projected that would be, let's see, about 600 shirts would cost $5,153 to get shirts that are sweatshop free with a 2-color design. She seems a little bit hesitant just from her knowledge of like ordering and logistics on like how the logistics would work of that. And it seems like our responses have been pretty poor to like online surveys and things, and it may be difficult to have people return like their forms with sizes and things, unless it was something that like, again, we put on the teachers to like contact all your students, get their size, like, which is probably a possibility, but you know, I hate to just put that on them to chase things down. So it's something that we should talk about. Like, do we feel like that makes sense logistically? Like, it's an awesome idea, but like, how do we feel like that would work?
You know, I think as another option that's out there, there certainly are vendors where we set it up with them for the parents to individually contact them, and the shipping and payment is all done through the vendors. We don't have to handle distribution. We don't have to handle collection of payment. We don't have to handle forms. Now, the question, of course, is a sweatshop free caveat. And so basically what we're looking for is a vendor that's an all-in-one package in terms of intake and output, and is sweatshop free. And then the second thing to sort of look at, particularly in light of the report Jason just gave, which I think is the timing then therefore is perfect. If it's $5,000 to do this, and we've got a projected $11,000 of non-savings account money, right? So that's 47% of that gets nailed right away. So we might want to also then therefore look at options apart from what might have been the already tried and true one when we were in person. So I don't know if anyone else has any other experience with that. I've been part of other events where the whole package thing has been done, but I'll be honest, and certainly I apologize, the sweatshop free part was never really part of the discussion, so I have no idea about that for some of the units we've used.
I was just thinking, like, what if we just like did an estimation and just grabbed pre-ordered a variety of sizes, you know, and if there's extras, then there's some for next year, you know, you could raffle them away or give them away or throw them out for prizes, you know, and like, I know that there's supposed to be, I think I heard there's going to be like a January supply pickup or something like that, or, you know, and just like have them available and give them out, distribute them out that way. I mean, it's a way to get, if you're looking for families who want a t-shirt, you know, and there's other things you got to give them, maybe I would bring them in for a free t-shirt, you know, but I think that that would be easier than trying to get sizes, honestly. Every time I mean, just like I would estimate a total number of sizes, you know, and then it's going to be imperfect. Some kindergartners might get a larger shirt, but they can wear it as fifth graders, or, you know, or it'll be a night shirt or something. But I think it's a way to get things out and just to something easy. What we don't have is a lot of people and a lot of time. So I think something easy we could just bulk order and then just like have them give away, you know, at one of the pickups.
Well, that's kind of why I'm trying to move the distribution off of our plate and put it on the vendor. So the parent clicks a link, makes an order, chooses a size. We've already given everyone a credit, you know, and the vendor takes care of everything else.
If we have credits that are unfulfilled, are we prepaying, and then if there are unfulfilled credits we don't get that money back? Or like, I like Alicia's idea of just having sizes. Like, kids are used to having extra large shirts and they don't generally mind. I mean, picking them up at materials pickup I think would be really easy, and it's one less thing for parents to really have to think about, like, or remember to do. So I'm into that.
They do that at the summer camp my kiddo goes to, you know, I mean, it's just it's chaos, but it's not too hard. Everybody just leaves with a t-shirt and it's in a general size that.
The only issue, of course, is it's premised upon coming together and grabbing stuff, and for people that don't make those pickup times, they come in 2 weeks. For example, I totally missed that second package pickup, so we came in, you know, way after. But I think it's well worth looking into then. The other question, it was whether $5,000 was something that was responsible for us to sort of commit to, given the other things you'd like to commit to.
Cost options. I mean, I would be willing to start just like looking around and see what the possibilities even are. Like, I'm willing to bet there are much lower cost options if we want to go that way. You know, it may not be like as premium, but
so when is the January pickup? Like, what's the timing for that?
So that's part of my updates. It'll be the 11th, 12th, and 13th. So the second week after we return, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So truly the question is whether we want to nail that, if we take Alicia's idea, and whether we would have to try to get this sort of done by and at the school the week before the 11th, right?
Yep. So just timing wise, I'll go on. I don't think that's possible. And I also don't think, to me, there's not necessarily that much of an urgency to get a free shirt, and we will have another materials pickup. And so I think we need to be more well thought out and planned than trying to rush getting all of our students a t-shirt. And so I think it's a great, awesome gesture. And I'm excited to do that. It's something I've wanted PTO to do all along, because then we have that unity. We can have a Bancroft day. Everyone has the t-shirt. It's not just kids that can afford the t-shirt. And so I think that's an awesome thing to do. And so I just don't think we can, with the holidays and winter break, and I don't think there's a way we can make that turnaround to have t-shirts available the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And so I know there will be another materials pickup, and I think we can wait either till that one or the next one. There's going to be a couple once mid-quarter and end of quarters.
Great. So would we want to, let's for this particular item then as well, we'll do our own research, or whoever has interest in looking for other vendors, and then we'll push it to the January meeting to discuss again, to draft a plan. Is there something like a?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll do the research and I'll bring it up at January, and then we'll kind of see like where we're at and how much urgency it is. Maybe we end up wanting to use that money for something else right now and pushing it down the line.
Yeah,
it could wait till spring even, because it's a t-shirt. It's cold out.
Good
I'm
point.
sorry, I interrupted.
No, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I was going to say too, another expense that may be coming, or that we talked about at the beginning of the year, is we distributed all of our headphones that students came in to do materials pickup. And so I know PTO had purchased a number of headphones for us. And so I think there was discussion, if I remember correctly, that at some point PTO would help replenish our supply if they were broken or did not return to school. So, and I know that's not a cheap venture. And so I think that's another piece to think about as we're moving forward. If we do come back in person at the end of this year or to start next year, that we may need our headphones replenished, and that would be, again, an awesome ask, an awesome gesture of PTO if that could also happen.
Yeah. So was Andy the one who found those and like figured out what to order? So if we get in touch with him, do we want the same models? If we find, because I know that there was like, we were looking for ones that were durable enough to handle being used by many children and wouldn't continually break. So do you want to talk to him about?
I know that he tested a couple of varieties, I think with Mr. Arnold Center. And so, and I know that the variety that they got was the kind that they thought worked the best and didn't fall apart immediately. So, I mean, I think unless there's been a huge complaint about those after using them for a year and a half or something, if they are good quality, I think we should save ourselves the research time and just reorder the kind we had. And I think it was a budget item, so we at least know hopefully how much it cost from a previous one. But Diego, do you happen to know, do you have any extras at school right now, or have they all been distributed?
We do have some extras, but they're not very good ones.
But are they the kinds that, are they a different brand from the?
They're a different brand, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if we can figure out what the brand was.
I can talk to Andy and hopefully he still has that information.
Okay.
So I have that down on my list of things to do.
I know that some teachers or some students just in different situations preferred the kind that have the microphone incorporated. I can't remember if the ones that Andy got had that or not.
Okay, we'll talk about options then.
Yeah, I don't know either, Linda, but I know there were some that did. There was like 3 different kinds that I ended up passing out during the material stuff, and one of them did, and that might have been the new ones that had a little microphone piece.
Okay, awesome. Let's see.
Okay, great. So I'm just, again, for the sake of the recording, this is a running list of potential upcoming PTO expenses based off of our current discussion. We've got possible headphone replenishment, the free t-shirt notion, teacher appreciation item, a possible transition event contribution from PTO, whatever the school sort of is putting together, we contribute in some fashion. And plus we've got the recurring expenses of Zoom and postage. That's kind of where we're standing at right now. Is that a correct statement?
Sounds good.
Great. Any other discussion on the t-shirt stuff? Should we move on?
I think we can move on.
So we got school directory. Alicia, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I've been just monitoring. We get pretty much down to a trickle now, probably 3 or 4 in the last month, new families that were added to the family directory. I just sent that out to updated it today to the PTO board. I had previously added the PDF file. There's a link in Google Drive. So I just would update that PDF file and then send out the link to the new families there. But I don't have access to the PTO account anymore because the password was changed recently, which no problem. But I just want to let you know that that's been continuing to update, and I'm just kind of monitoring it. It looks like maybe some kiddos found the link on the website and got some spammy stuff in there, which was easy to identify. So it was just a bunch of garbled gibberish entries, but probably 10 of them, and it wasn't a big deal. So I don't know if there's any other questions. Linda, you sent an email out just saying that there seems renewed interest in the directory.
Yes, a teacher asked me about it because her students were thinking ahead to winter break, and 4th graders, and so she asked me about the student directory, and so she was going to promote it. And then the idea was, well, if the other teachers thought their students would, but I did stress that they shouldn't share that link, even though it's on our website, with the students directly, but they, get their students to talk to their parents about looking for the link, which I did send out in an email blast again today. So hopefully, where's that on there? Oh crap. Anyway, so There might be some more coming in this week, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, that's helpful to know that they're specifically gearing around winter break. So I'll try to keep an eye on it this week. And if I get a slew of updates in there, I'll do another ad version with those. I know there was one fourth grade student in this last round of 4 new families.
Well, if you need my help with that, I'll let you know. And if I hear any more from this side, I'll let you know.
Oh, I had a comment and it just left me as I unmuted myself. Oh yeah, first thing, Alicia, just stay on the meeting at the end and I'll give you the password. It had to change because we had that security thing, Mandy. And and so I had to make the password change. So it's actually a variant of the one that you had set up. So I bet if you had just typed enough times, you would have gotten
I
it
could
anyway.
probably figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Wait, I won't ruin the access for everybody while I try that. So I'll just wait until.
No, yeah, it's no worries. And I think the only thing, and I just make that joke, but yeah, I think it's because Mandy had a new computer sign in, and that tripped something in Google's AI, and then Google decided to lock us down.
Yeah, that happens.
It locked all my accounts too. Like it was like, sorry, everything is now fraudulent. I was like, oh, okay. So,
Lovely.
So, and then having said that, so I think it's thanks for the update. I think so. We have these 2 other items following that we put after yours because this would the directory I think is what would help it along. And from last week, parents helping other parents out with tech questions, tech needs, assignment tips. How do I help my kids, not get so burnt out on the screen? Or I see that your kid is successful. What's helping out? That kind of thing. Or how do we, help parents share their tips and tricks with the district equipment, right? And so that would be a perfect use of this directory, frankly. So I think people may not be using the directory because they're not so clear on a use case. Well, now we have a use case that we could be more specific about. And also in addition to that, there was a notion of the pen pal plan, right? The pen pal idea, trying to encourage students to write actual letters and actually mail them to each other. And we do have addresses in the directory. I don't remember actually if we did or didn't, but the point is we got 2 use cases. I think it's just a matter of communicating out or coming up with some way to spin it and get buy-in and then say, hey, did you know you were on the directory? This makes it way easy for you, right? And that's probably part of the communication plan. The letter to the teachers that we'll add in was the other thing was, hey, teachers, we understand from some of your peers that you're experiencing too much tech support or that of some families that are in need of a little more assistance. How can we help? I think that would be the other reach out from PTO. And then the backbone of this is the directory that Alicia's got set up. Does that sound like something that makes sense to folks?
Yeah, I think just reiterating just different ideas and use cases. And I think I'll just maybe if within that letter, or I guess this is a letter going to teachers, but for the sake of the notes here, I'll also include just like if for the families that are in your classroom or grade level and you can send a text out to the ones that want to see a text. I know that they've done a meetup at like a playground or something, or maybe they'll do an ice rink over at Sibley or something like that over winter break. I know that that's what one of the kindergarten families did.
So yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mandy.
I was gonna say for the tech support thing, I don't know if this is at all possible. I don't know how the directory is created, but like it's possible, at least if like new people are signing up with this initiative to get families to reach out to each other for like tech support or just collaboration. Like, is it possible to put in like a okay to contact me for tech support? Like, like how
well,
okay to contact me about other opportunities or something. Like, is there a way that we could signal that in the directory for people to
I
know?
think the ship may have sailed, honestly, just because the majority of families are probably already in the amount of work trying to get them to back. And I don't know. I'm just
You're
like,
right.
good idea, and maybe save that for next year if we have to do this again. Hopefully.
I mean, really, the directory really was they gave the okay to be contacted, and then it really was like I'm a family on the directory. I filter it for other first grader families because I want to figure out what are you doing with Seesaw, and I'm just going to randomly call someone, Or like I see that my kid all of a sudden is connecting with a student. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to reach out to that family because it turns out my kid is online is remembering that other kid's name. This is a big thing, which actually is a big thing. One of the things we've been lamenting is that Silas has his list of friends from kindergarten, but wasn't necessarily making new friends. Well, now, as of maybe November, he was finally connecting the new kids with the faces. So it's taken him that long to sort of, come up with that sort of thing. So that's what we envisioned, really, was once people gave the blanket permission to be contacted for any reason, other people would just be like, oh yeah, I'm in first grade, I'm going to contact other first grade families. So I think this would be the perfect use cases. It's the tech thing, first graders that need iPad help, or third graders that need Chromebook help, whatever, or the assignments. There's this one math teacher keeps putting out the assignment the same way. Do you find that problematic? Let's just figure out what is it that we need to do, like that. Anyway, point is, we just need to communicate this out. So, so we're gonna if that's we're sort of starting to drop here, but that's the direction that I'm sort of understanding, right?
Okay, awesome.
And certainly, let's use our emails to come up with just other specific ideas about some, about how to encourage people to make use of the directory, because I think it's great that it's up and running now. We just got to get use.
Yeah, we just need to get some messaging around it that will get people excited about utilizing it.
Just moving on, unless there's more discussion about this. We had school choice, which I don't really know.
Rosa asked a question about what types of tech issues are happening. It was in the chat.
Oh, I didn't miss that. Sorry.
I would just say what we're seeing at the school is right now is mostly broken, like shattered iPad screens and broken Chromebook screens. So to me, those are the biggest tech issues we're dealing with right now. Just today too, we had a parent come in with the Global Protect VPN issue, which we thought was resolved a while ago. And so she was connected to everything, connected to the internet, but then when you went to the internet or went to Safari or tried to log on in Clever, it said you weren't connected to the internet. And so it was really frustrating. And it was because the VPN was not connected and it wasn't allowing people to get on. And so those are just some of the pieces. I think also when people are getting new iPads, and this is kind of something that I've just discovered recently too, is that even though Google Meet is downloaded and they go through Clever, sometimes Google Meet will not let them log in unless they physically log in with their entire username and password into the Google Meet app. And so it's just like little tiny things like that a lot of times myself or Brianna can troubleshoot over the phone. But at times like the VPN one, I couldn't remember how to do it. And so I had to have she brought the iPad in and I gave her a new one, but then I like 2 minutes later, right when she walked out the door, I was like, oh yeah, it was this. And I was able to fix it and actually pass that iPad out to another kid that came in with a broken one. But for me right now, what we're seeing in the office the most is just shattered screens, which isn't really something a family can help with.
Can troubleshoot,
Can we
right?
fund getting ballistic glass screen protectors for like materials pickup? Like, is that something?
So that was on. So I will throw the district under the bus. So all the iPads that we got at the beginning of the year did not have cases.
Yeah.
All the ones that we've recently, which was a terrible idea. But I know they wanted to get technology out into the hands of kids. And so the cases did come in probably mid-October. And so all of the ones that we've recently been sending out do have cases on them and the screen protectors. And so we're getting a lot of the ones that didn't that are, some break on accident, some look like it wasn't an accident. The whole entire thing is completely shattered. But yeah, if you give an iPad to a 5 or 6 year old, sometimes things will happen to them. So all of our new ones do have screen protectors and cases. And then the hard part, I know PTO, I think, put that out back, I can't remember when, should we buy some cases? I don't think I responded, but a lot of this is, they're not I shouldn't say it this way, but they're not Bancroft iPads. They're, district-wide iPads. And so I necessarily didn't think it was a good use of our money, in a sense, to get cases for iPads that may never come back to our school. And so we have a number of iPads, and I know PTO has purchased cases for us. I've purchased cases for our iPads before. And so I think that's something that we could do moving forward in the future too, to support the kids at Bancroft specifically.
I think, and related to that, there are a number of best practices that suit certain situations that I don't really think get too communicated out. And teachers certainly don't have the ability to sort of parse everything out for every student when they only have the 30-minute live meeting and they got to get through a lesson. And so what I've noticed is that some less than ideal situations, they're just living with it because at least the kid is here, even though there's a constant echo from the kid when the kid opens up, unmutes, or even though it's clear that the kid needs a stand because they can't manage participating in class and holding the iPad, right? They're having to put the iPad down and touch the thing because they can't do it one hand. Well, a stand would probably benefit. So I think some of these things are probably the types of issues that we could absorb or help communicate out, and take away from the teachers to deal with. I mean, certainly, right, the VPN issue is just a fix that someone just had with a little more tech savvy would sort of have to sort of navigate. But there's another issue of if kids are using the school iPad to record things and it starts to get full of memory, it causes Seesaw to crash when they're trying to upload. So they got to clear some memory in order to participate more. And the reason is they're shooting and storing locally instead of using Seesaw to shoot only. Because when you use Seesaw to shoot, it stores to the cloud versus recording it separately. So it stores to local and then uploading it to Seesaw, at which point you've got a duplicate file and it just takes up space. So there are little things like that I think are worth getting out to parents that are probably experiencing those things. And that's certainly something that we could do, because those are again, they're not too high in the tech savviness, but it's enough to make an experience better. Because I do think that we are at this point from a teacher standpoint that they're just living with what they have in terms of what the kids are doing when they're in their live meetings. And I'm speaking at it from the case of first grade level. I'm pretty sure maybe third and fourth and fifth grades are probably a little better at it.
To get sort of like that, like basic general fixes for the most common issues, it's possible we could just whoever is good at technology could just make some kind of handout that could be a materials pickup, to walk people through some of those basic issues. And that's probably the easiest way to reach a large amount of people. I don't know if that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I mean, that certainly would be the thing. But the other thing, what I'm hoping for is that we send this out to teachers and teachers like, aha, yeah, there is that kid who's constantly echoing. There's this family who their audio is always perfect. Can I pair them up? Can I tell them find each other in the directory and maybe we could help, maybe they can help each other out. That's the kind of thing. I mean, the teachers are already triaging what they can triage. Well, let's just say to them, use the parents as a resource. The parents that are being successful with the technology, if we just talk technology, use the parents who are being successful with the technology to help the parents who are not being successful with technology, particularly if they're in this directory, right? That's kind of what I'm sort of hoping to push people toward. And again, the idea is that we've got this Active Directory. People, I think, are just not really understanding its use case. Well, here's a perfect use case. It's putting people together, people who need the knowledge, put them together with the people who have the knowledge.
Is there already like a tech FAQ on the Bancroft website that could be just a place that parents are probably first going to go to the Bancroft website if they have an issue, that could be linked there? The district's one is really expansive and there's a lot there, but it is there's a lot there. So there might be seven top tricks that you could add to a thing on the website.
Yeah, we do have a tech page on our distance learning website, but I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it in a long time. And so I don't know how updated it is. And there's probably a few things that we could add on there. I know that we did have the Global Protect fix on there because we were one. I mean, it just happened overnight one day, and then it was like a Tuesday morning, and we had 20, 30 phone calls. My kid can't get onto the meeting. My kid can't get onto the meeting, and so we finally, figured out on our own because the IT department said, "Oh, that's going to be an overnight fix, and we'll push it out, and then it'll be good." And then it still wasn't good, and so there was a way to log into the Global Protect to have kids be able to access the internet, and so. We can look at that. Linda can look at that, and we can see how updated the tech support page is. But that's a good place to start. And I also, I hear what Paul is saying about connecting parents. But I think right now the biggest thing is families are just calling the office, and Fabiola, who's back, has now been working through some issues and with the computers, and so and I have too. And Brianna's on leave currently, but. So yeah, families have been calling the office, and we've been trying to troubleshoot as much as we can.
Would it be worth the office would it be worth having the office sort of be like, yes, let me see what I can do for you, but for future, have you considered family directory reaching out to your peer families in your grade level? I mean, adding that as a little tag, like, yes, I'm going to try and fix this for you, but did you know there's this school directory where we're trying to get parents to talk to each other? I mean, that's if the office is kind of that kind of intersection of calls, that might be another place to sort of just put the word out. And then the other thing too, to just reply to Rosa's comment, the one thing that I have the privilege of working remotely. So I'm here while my son's doing his thing, and I see it where kids are pretty much just unattended. They don't have the privilege of having a parent sit with them while they do the work. So I know that the kids are just having to sort of suffer through the less than ideal nature of the technology. And so the parents may not even be aware that there's an echo issue, because the kid's not going to say, "Oh yeah, I had a great meeting, I had echo." The kid's like, I mean, we all know this. How'd it go today? Fine. I mean, so I think, which is the other reason why I'd love, because the teachers made it clear last time that they have a sense of who is struggling with what. And wouldn't it be great, therefore, that instead of the teachers shouldering the effort, they just connect the people to who need to be connected, and then the work is done that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like there's just a couple different places where we can put a communication out at the teacher level, and certainly at the office level, maybe. What do you think about that, Diego?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. This is a question then for parents. I'm just curious if there's more of a comfort level reaching out to other parents, or if there's a comfort level in reaching out to the office, to the principal, assistant principal, whatever. I don't know. I mean, on my parent hat, I personally would rather call the school and have them work through an issue with me than try and look through a directory and call a parent that I might not know. But that's me personally. And so I don't know where that comfort level is for other families or other caregivers.
Certainly. And I think
I'll just add too that I think that the opportunity to get a hold of somebody is nice, and the office is open. There's people answering the phone calls, and like I would say that if there's like questions around like, hey, like I want to connect with another family, is there a way that that'd be a great opportunity to promote the family directory? Here's a good way. Do you know about this? Here's a link, you could fill it out and then get access. But I think like with tech questions, if I were to get pushed off from somebody I could get a hold of immediately to go and leave a message or text somebody that maybe can't get off work until 5 o'clock that night to respond to something, I think I agree with Diego in that it's sometimes nice just to reach somebody. And if the office has office hours, there's people that are answering the phones, like that's more of a value than feeling like I'm getting pushed off to reach out to somebody who may or may not answer my question, that may not in a timely sort of way that'll be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think there are two separate kind of timing things to consider. I mean, there's the emergency, we're in a thing that's failing right now, got to go to the office for immediate response, totally makes sense rather than cold calling somebody. But I think really again, I'm using my own experience. We stopped relying on the district for support. We reach out to our other parent friends and say, hey, we had this assignment. I know you're in the other teacher's class. How did I go with you? Or I've got Silas experienced this thing in his iPad. Are you guys experiencing the same thing? And we kind of have our own little pod going, and it's working great. I just feel like it would be great if other parents had that same kind of experience, because the emergency thing, absolutely go right to the office, go right to the district. Although we don't really find the district that useful in terms of tech support. It's just too much. I mean, they're just shouldering too much.
I would agree. I would say
yeah.
come straight to Bancroft. I mean, call us,
Yeah.
don't call IT.
Yeah. But then I think the goal really is encourage families to find their communities through the directory, so that they have this running conversation. You are in my son's first grade class. I don't know you, but you're in the directory. How do you feel that we just talk? And then let's say that becomes a nice little conversation. 3 weeks later, we have the VPN thing that I'm pretending that I've never experienced before. I call that person up. Hey, have you had this? I mean, that just gives them a whole nother resource, because they sort of went through the first process of reaching out and becoming part of someone else's community. That's truly what my hope was with the directory. But I totally get it. Getting users, we're not Steve Jobs. We can't really turn people on to using our product.
What I see a lot of too is parents helping each other, like either in the chat on their kids' meetings, or like parents talking to each other on the meetings, like helping them work through. And we've got younger grades, so I think the parents are often more close at hand than with the older grades. But there's a lot of times where parents have like helped each other with tech support.
That's exactly right.
So like,
I would also say that I've gotten phone calls from kids. Mr. DePaz, can you help me figure out da 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 da? And so I've talked to a number of 4th and 5th graders on the phone and tried to help them get onto their hotspots or troubleshoot, connectivity issues. And so, I mean, some of our kiddos are definitely very savvy, and I've talked to a number, probably 6 or 7 4th and 5th graders about tech issues on the phone, and that's been fun too. So,
yeah, I mean, I think we're all kind of running around the same issue here, or circles. We're running in circles. I sort of do want to sort of keep the conversation going. It's 6:47, so we're 13 minutes of time, I believe. I think let me just put the statement on and find out if there's general agreement. We have a tool, the family directory. We want to leverage it for something. Should we try to put a communication out to leverage it for the pen pal idea and the tech support idea? Is that worth our effort as PTO, considering that this thing is made? We just got to get people to use it.
With winter break coming up too, like that's kind of an ideal time to push like pen pal, getting connected, since kids won't see their friends for almost over 3 weeks. So it's kind of a natural time to do that if we ever are going to capture kids wanting to contact each other.
I think it's great, worth like just putting out, here's like 4 ideas on how you could stay connected or how this might be useful. It'll come back down to teachers helping promote it too within the classrooms. I think that there's, again, like we can only reach whoever we have in our current net of emails and contacts, but I think it'll be helpful for teachers to help promote that and remind kids and families too. That this is available resource to them. And again, I will keep in touch if like I get, a bunch of updates this week, I'll make sure to send it out and get it done on Friday or something after work. So.
Great. Thank you. So I'll add this to a draft letter and I'll send it out to board officers or look over.
Awesome. As we go into school choice, do we want to just kind of maybe focus our last 10 minutes or so on the PTO's role in the virtual open houses and like what we can do?
Diego, if you just wouldn't mind that meeting. This also, yeah, I think we could skip the school choice thing since we don't really have too large of an audience unless there are questions, but there are some emails that I put out that I'm waiting for a response back on anyway. So yeah, so let's put this on the virtual open house. How can we help Diego and Linda?
Great question. And so I know I've been in contact with you, Vipal, just about potential video. I think, Linda is going to come in tomorrow and help me take some pictures and some video. I think I'm going to try and tackle that piece. The district has put out some resources for us to use. And there's a person too that we can actually send in our clips and our photos, and they will put it together. I don't know if I'm going to be in the timeline because they wanted it 2 weeks ahead of time, and now we have winter break. I don't know if they count that as 2 weeks, but we'll see. The other piece that we wanted to ask of PTO, and I know Linda and a couple other staff members will be reaching out directly to some families, is to have a family panel during the virtual open houses. And so we would have our first one's going to be January 8th. Yep. Which is a Friday, and that would be a morning one from 8 to 9. And then the other ones are January 14th, which is a Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. And then January 26th, which I believe is a Tuesday, from 6 to 7 p.m. And my hope is that we would have a moderated panel where I would have maybe 2 or 3 questions that I would ask of the parents that currently attend Bancroft, or the parents who have kids that attend Bancroft, so that they can share their experiences or why they chose Bancroft, or any of those pieces with potentially incoming families. And so the virtual open houses are directed more towards those families that are coming from other schools or charter schools, what have you, so that they can understand, since we're not having an in-person tour, so they can have a virtual tour of the school, kind of get a lay of the land of what it means to be an IB school, meet some of the staff members, talk about what a typical day looks like at Bancroft, see the spaces, and then obviously my hope was to hear from the actual parents who have kids come to Bancroft. And so I don't know if there's anyone, on the PTO board that would be willing to volunteer their time. You don't have to be at all 3 sessions, but I would love to have some representatives at any of them. And like I said, I know Linda was going to reach out to some families, and Lisa Hartman was also going to reach out to some families specifically to try and get, 2, 3, 4 caregivers at each event.
I would be happy to do it.
Yeah, I was going to volunteer myself as well. Do you want us to reach out for panelists, or would you rather be reaching out to folks individually?
Linda, do you want to answer?
No, I think it might be good if you recruit as well. We are trying to look for some diversity too, so keep that in mind. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Diego? Because I think that would help. If you could just let us know so we have an idea, and for the dates, so we don't have them all centered on one date and not another. So we get them spread across the 3 dates as well.
Well, what at what point is there a deadline for you wanting to have things locked in? Like, what's a deadline for you to say, okay, we are ready for virtual? Things are plugged.
So our first one is Friday the 8th. And so my hope would be, especially to touch base with a family or a caregiver or a parent, and have an idea of what they're going to be asked. I would say probably Tuesday of that week, Wednesday of that week, just to make sure we have folks that are going to participate, especially for that one. And the next one is Tuesday or Thursday that next week. So similar timeline.
So that would be Tuesday right after winter break.
That'd be my hope.
Yeah. Okay. So the 5th of January, in an ideal sense, if the PTO does any sort of recruiting or identifying of folks, we let's just sort of call it the 5th of January is when we like to have anyone sort of marked, and then they could figure out what dates they're doing or what the dates are available. Sound like a fair statement?
Yeah.
Oh,
and just to make sure to clarify too, the Friday is a morning, 8 to 9 a.m. In place of coffee, tea, and IB. And then the other 2 events are at night, 6 to 7 p.m.
So the other question I have then is, this is me putting my work hat on. What's the technology solution for this? Is this virtual open house being hosted over Google Meet or over a district provided thing versus, again, we have access to Zoom. It is a much better platform for the one-to-many type of thing, or if you're doing panel discussion, because I could literally, 4 people, I would be, or a host to be able to see, I'm spotlighting myself and Rosa, and everyone is looking at the 2 of us as panelists right now simultaneously, as opposed to a gallery of 140 people, or, maybe I'm overestimating how many people will attend. But let's just say, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's about how many students are
Are coming
assigned.
in, right.
So it could be 140.
So I'm going to remove Spotlight there. But you see, there just are these tools that make
Yep.
hosting of things better in Zoom.
So
but
I
I'm
will
putting out
say
there-
that.
yeah.
So I'm going off of my own experience, and I think Zoom would be a great platform. We did something similar in the springtime when we did our virtual kindergarten open house, and we did use Google Meet. And we did that 2 times, and I think it went very well, in my opinion. I see Alicia nodding her head. She was participated in that. Lauren did as well. And so I think I'm building my experience off of that. And so I want it to be something similar along those lines where, I shared with you, Paul, that we'll have an introduction video. I'll introduce myself as the principal, do a quick video tour of the building with the bulldog being in different places. And then a lot of it will be narration and discussion. Sue Francis will be there and talk about what it means to be IB learners and IB school. I would like to have some teachers there, just to talk again about what a typical day looks like at Bancroft. And then again with the parent panel, speaking about their experiences and why they ultimately chose Bancroft and continue to support Bancroft School. And then open it up for questions and answers from potential incoming families. And so that's kind of the layout. And we've used Google Meet. I'm open. I mean, if you want to support the moderation or just the technical aspect of it, that would be fantastic. But then that's another logistical piece that we'll need to figure out and talk about. But Google Meet has worked for us, but I'm open to using Zoom.
Okay. Yeah. No. Well, I just really wanted to sort of reach out and get a sense of what that solution is. It sounds like you've got a plan in place. I think certainly I'm volunteering for support of some kind, but I could also just be a panelist, or I could also just not be part of it. However this rolls. I think the fact that we're all in PTO, we all sort of want to help out in some fashion for this thing. But what do we say? We're looking at the 5th of January as a thing. PTO will do some recruiting. Is there anything else that the school needs? It sounds like all the video content, you've already got a handle on. You live bodies to do some talking, but is there anything else that PTO needs to sort of be helping out with?
I guess I'll open up that question to everyone. I think that's a good question as the PTO and as parents of kids in our school. If you were assigned to a different school, or if you were choosing a different school, I mean, what would you want to hear? Would you want to hear from PTO and things like that? What are some of those pieces that you would be looking for?
Can I ask 2 clarifying questions? So this is strictly for families who are now zoned per the CDD, correct? Like that's basically all that is now making this choice.
Or people from outside a district or that kind of thing that are, because there is some school choice, just not a lot of headroom.
Okay.
And without transportation, I think that we can choose, but not necessarily have transportation if you don't live in that area.
So you could opt into Bancroft if you're not zoned for here, but you'd have to provide your own transportation.
And they have
If you
to
got-
not be at capacity. That's the
Okay.
mysterious.
You can request it. You can request it, but the district will decide if they accept
Okay.
you.
And then my second question is, so the maintaining IB has been approved for next year or for like ever, or what's the timeline for that?
So that's a good question. And I'm living in the present. And so I know for sure that it's next year. And I'm going to hope that it's for every year after that. But I know for sure that it's the 21-22 school year.
Okay. And then, sorry, one follow-up. So
I was going to also say, I don't think it will go away, just because now they are adding MYP, which is the middle years program, to all of the middle schools.
Yeah.
And so I know that was brought up at one of our meetings a couple months ago about what's our pathway then. And so what was recently decided is that all the middle schools will be part of the MYP program. And so regardless if you go to Anderson or Sanford,
except for the magnets though, right? Like they're explicitly not MYP because they're magneted for something else. Isn't that correct? Or am I misunderstanding that?
Which the middle school, because
Yeah. Like I thought the middle schools that were designated as magnets were not MYP, but all other ones were. But maybe I'm misunderstanding.
my understanding, because so I think the only one that would be a magnet, or not necessarily a magnet, but would offer programming would be Anderson, because they're a dual language because they have the immersion. But my understanding is that they would also be MYP.
Okay. Okay.
I could be wrong also, but that was
Well,
my.
I think that's correct. I've heard it explained as two programs within the same facilities. So you've got the dual immersion, and then you've got the regular middle school, which now is the MYP.
Yep.
I think an exception might be Jefferson, which is going to stay a K-8, but has a humanities global studies magnet. But I don't know if that would somehow be incorporated into MYP2 or not.
Is Sullivan staying a K-8? I can't keep track of all the schools. And it doesn't matter. Anyways.
So sorry, one last question. So Bancroft would stay an IB, but it will not be a magnet. It will be a community school
Correct.
with an IB focus.
Correct. So then that's where the whole idea of the attendance zone and lack of busing across zone 2 comes into play. And so now our boundary, I think we shared this in an email a couple weeks back before the school request letters went out, but our boundary is now Lake Street, Chicago Avenue, Cedar Avenue, and 42nd Street. And so if you live within that boundary, then you are automatically placed at Bancroft School. And if you're outside of that boundary, we talked about this before, but you can out of area enroll, but you would have to provide your own transportation, and there would have to be space in the grade and at the school.
And did you happen to hear any news on that part of it, Diego?
So I do know that there will be spots available. The number of spots, I haven't been told an exact number, but I know they've modeled out different percentages over, I shouldn't say over capacity, but over the number that we were given. So of the 380. So I've heard anywhere from 10 to 30%. And so they're modeling out different ways for each school.
I have an email to Martha Swanson, right? And then Director Inns is following up on this as well. But two notions. One is the immediate one is, how do we tackle the capacity? How is the district determining capacity, right? Vis-a-vis the whole demographic aspect of it and at grade level. But if a school that had literally Bancroft situation, we are capable of 515, we're now slated for 381. Obviously, we have the ability to support more than 381. If there's more interest in people wanting to stay at Bancroft or come to Bancroft, not even think about staying to Bancroft, but coming to Bancroft, would they grow our capacity? And what does that mean relative to the schools in their area, like whether or not the impact? So there was that question. But the other question was this, and this was pretty interesting. Students that have been transitioned, that are being transitioned to other schools, right? They now have a spot at that other school. If they do school choice, and there's a quote from Martha Swanson about this, which is why I'm asking for clarification. They technically can ask, it's a freebie year. They have a spot at their transition school. So they could put in a first request for, let's pretend Bancroft, a second request for magnet. And then if they don't get either, well, they've got their spot at their transition school. They don't lose it. The act of requesting it doesn't take that spot away because of the nature of this transition. So theoretically speaking, someone who wanted to now has double the chance of going to another school other than their community school just for this year because of the way that this transition is occurring. And I'm looking for clarification on that. But that's kind of another interesting thing to sort of muddy the waters a little bit, because it gives people a little bit more opportunity to be a little more mobile.
I was just going to say, back to the virtual open house, we went to the green one and parents asked, what does the PTO do and what do they fundraise for? What do they use that money for? So just basic questions like that were asked. They had like a chat format, and I think having the parents on the video, you know, on the panel will be really good. Because there were a couple of parents in the chat that gave some positive information, but it was a little weird because it was like, well, why are they at a virtual open house if they already go there and they're going to stay there? So I think that's a great idea.
Good, thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Lauren. And Paul, I don't know if it's a question, but I mean, to address kind of what you were saying is that I know that other schools will have their capacity or their enrollment capacity caps as well. And so there's a chance, let's say, for example, I'm to make it up, Lake Harriet lower. They have X number of kids transitioning out and X number of kids transitioning in, but maybe their capacity or their cap is at 0 spots. Maybe there isn't a possibility for students to out of area enroll because of the attendance zone capacity is already at what it needs to be. And so I think there's that possibility as well, where there will be a cap and the number is of spots open are 0.
Right. Yeah. And I think, just sorry. So just doing the straight math, for our school, we have 41 open spots, theoretically speaking, if we just do the straight math of how many in, how many out, what our cap is. And so then the question is, well, okay, so 41 open spots to people who are out of attendance for whatever reason coming in. And through school choice, they realize there are 60 students that want in, right? And clearly the school is capable of absorbing the 60 if they raise the cap for whatever, and whatever. And so that's so the question that I put forward to them was, what's the process for that? Is there a process for that?
Right.
Because obviously,
yes, and obviously the whole process is a little bit muddy to begin with, because we also have, I wrote it down. We have 127 students coming from other schools. Well, out of those 127, are all of them going to decide to choose Bancroft? Are some going to decide, you know what, I really like Dowling. I'm going to stay at Dowling because I'm an out of area enroll and there's spots available at Dowling. Or I'm coming from Northrop and I really like Northrop and I want to go back, but there's no spots available at Northrop. Or I'm coming from Lindale. I'm one of the 7 kids coming from Lindale. And so I don't know how many kids are going to actually come to Bancroft or how many are in the position of, well, I can out of area enroll because there's space at the school I'm leaving and my family can transport me. And so I think all of those are unknowns. So yeah, you're right. We could have mathematically 41 spots and we could have 70. It's hard to say. And I wish it was clearer for me as well. I also emailed Martha Swanson a question about if you are granted out of area enrollment for the 21-22 school year, does that continue until you graduate and matriculate through all the grades? Or is it a 1 year off thing? And I got a response that said, we have a meeting tomorrow with the senior leadership and that I'll bring that question to their attention. And so I think there's just a lot of other questions that people want to know, because if I have to go through this stressful, proposition every single year, then maybe I will just go to my community school instead of try to go into this lottery and cross my fingers and hope that I get out of area enrollment each year.
That's an interesting thing, because there are other questions similar to that, and the answer is pretty much said you could certainly finish at the school that you end up in, whether that was staying at Bancroft, but when you go to middle school, you don't follow the Bancroft middle school path. You got to go back to your community school's middle school path, or you do the lottery again to follow through middle school. Except, of course, we have the advantage of, because we're IB at elementary and they're putting MYP at all middle schools, it doesn't matter at this point. You'll get the IB experience moving through most of the middle schools too. So anyway, I think we might have ventured far afield from how can we help your virtual open house. So I think we got a couple of action items, unless there's anything more.
I do have one super fast thing.
Yeah.
So I was planning to start a Bancroft Elementary parents Facebook page. Everyone's feels like that's an okay idea. There's Minneapolis public school parents. A lot of schools have their own parent page. I know not everyone's a Facebooker, but Like,
I would love it. The reason I'm on
Yeah.
PTO is because there isn't a Facebook page for parents.
yeah, so I want to start a group, just, open group. And then, for current parents, and then like people who are also looking for school choice can join and ask Bancroft specific questions, because there's a lot of those going on in Minneapolis public school parents. And I think just like funneling those people to Bancroft and, getting them in kind of might be helpful, like get them excited about it. So it'll couple in with the virtual open houses and just provide a forum for like everyone and help communication. Like we can plug the directory, we can plug whatever fundraising, just another avenue for people to connect. So
It'll increase Andy McClure's posting by 100% because he posts a lot in the other one, so he'll probably end up posting it.
Yeah, why not? We're all bored.
Can I just make one request?
Of course.
Because I know that at times Facebook posts aren't always positive. And so and I'm not saying that some experience aren't positive at my school. I'm completely aware of that. And so my request would just be if things go that direction, or there's conversation around that we can try to work towards a solution. I know sometimes people just need to vent, but I also want to make sure that if there are issues or if there are things we need to be aware of, that we can work to be solution oriented and not just let problems fester in the internet sphere. So that would be my one request. And then also if we can just I know there's always positive things too. So if we can share some of those positives out, and the kudos to any staff members or anything that can be shared with staff, I think that's another way of acknowledging and appreciating the work that people are doing. So those are my, I guess, 2 requests.
Any requests you have, just let me know. I'll be the admin and like moderator for the group, and anyone else who enjoys moderating can join me,
I think the only other thing we need to have a clear, oh, go ahead.
I just had a quick suggestion for Mandy on that. My mom moderates, she's like a literacy intervention retired person, and she has this massive Facebook group with teachers just providing resources on literacy interventions and stuff. But she has this really amazing, like very strict, sort of like, this is how we use this, and I will be strongly moderating it. And it's just like really nice. It's upfront. It's really well spelled out. It just gives you a lot of like, then you just can just say like, if you have like a big issue about a teacher, this is not the space to do it. Here's the avenues that we go, and we will like close off conversations about X, Y, and Z type of topics really quickly, just because this is a forum for these other types of discussions. Not to say that there shouldn't be any controversial, hard discussions on it, but I think really being real specific around.
No, I totally know what you're saying. Yeah, like have specific guidelines and rules. I'm the moderator for our neighborhood Buy Nothing group, which has an amazing amount of rules. So, so I have practice.
I think the things that we need to just be clear on is a delineation between that group and the PTO group.
Right.
And
I don't want to use it as like a vehicle for, a PTO agenda or anything, but just as like a way for people to communicate and have discussions and, ask questions. But
yeah, I think it's fine. I think there's bound to be some crossover. And as much, I totally get it. Also, the notion of not too much negativity, but I also can understand the need for venting. And that for a lot of these things, it's they're paper tigers, so all bark no bite type stuff. So, but if it came to PTO's page, that's an actionable thing. I mean, because that's where we are, or whoever becomes PTO in future years, that's where they're actually taking action on stuff. So I think it'll probably find its place. It'll find its place in the ecosystem.
And I'm hoping some of the educators, maybe from Minneapolis public school parents, like Bancroft educators, could, end up there. And it's really helpful because like a lot of them, some of them will provide a lot of context that parents don't have. And I think it's just really helpful. So,
well, okay.
Something.
Before they go there though, I want them to stop by our page. I mean, we are the parent teacher organization. I am my first year here. I think we had some teachers coming to these things a little more regularly. I know pandemic has changed that, but it would be nice to get more teachers on the PTO, it would be nice to get the T from the P and the O.
Yeah, and I think it's not usually like teachers just starting topics and starting conversation, but when parents get really fired up about stuff, there will be educators who jump in with context and like
Yeah.
to try to help help people chill out. So
I'll just say,
let's
as
see
a
how it
teacher in the district and a parent in the district, I frequently see
Yeah.
the connection and then do comment as a parent with educator experience that can help out. I'll also say, like, I think a Facebook page, like I get 1,000 emails a day. It's really hard to like keep up on emails. Whereas if I get a Facebook notification that says like we have a PTO meeting, I'm probably more likely to come, to be honest with you, than an email. So I think the Facebook page is a really good.
Well, are you on our Facebook, Rosa?
I follow Bancroft.
No, we have okay, there we go. You're not on the PTO Facebook.
No, I'm not.
So it exists. And in fact, this is being live streamed to it. So anyone that's just on Facebook, didn't care to make a comment, but just wanted to tune in, they're literally watching us talk about it's very meta. We're on Facebook talking about Facebook.
But I mean, I think too, like having just as many avenues to capture people as possible is helpful. You know, some people are more into social media, some people are more email people, like, you know, there's all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome. I will work on that. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask you to give me feedback on the guidelines I come up with for our essential.
Great.
That's
So,
just the IB language that we use in the school, essential agreements.
I love it.
And so, Diego, I know we had you low on the agenda here, but you do bring us good information. So let's close out with you.
I think it's all been shared. We got our virtual open houses coming up. So I think that's an exciting opportunity to do some outreach to some potential new Bancroft families. We have, I think I stated earlier, we have the materials distribution. So there's kind of the unofficial halfway point of our school year is the winter break. And so the 11th, 12th, and 13th will be distributing some more materials. Most grades will be getting their volume 2 math journal. And there'll be a bunch of other materials, new benchmark readers that kids can pick up. And teachers are all going through their list right now. And I have a Google Doc, so I'll know exactly what to pass out. But we're going to advertise. I don't think it's advertised yet, but we'll advertise that for families.
Can we drop a PTO thing in the materials handout, or is that crossing the line? An encouragement to people to join.
We can have that at our table. I mean, last time we had just a calendar and an IB type thing that talked about the units of inquiry that we were doing. So you can definitely, I can pass one out at the table at the front when we get there.
Yeah, I think that would be something, Mandy and the rest of the board. It'd be nice to grow our numbers. It's been hard to get in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people we've been getting in front of this year are the people who already know us, but there's a bunch of people out there that when we had the live events, they were learning about, they weren't members, they didn't come to meetings, but they're learning about stuff from us. And that was the interaction that we're missing this year. So we probably should try to get into that drop. Maybe just think about what we would drop in that drop.
Awesome.
And then a couple just updates to a little bit CDD related is that we are slated to have 2 full day high fives instead of the 2 half day high fives. And so that'll be a programming change for next year. I think most of you already know too that the bell time changes were approved by the school board. So our new bell time is going to be 9:10 to 3:40. And then the other piece is ASD. Originally, we were slated to go down to 2 classrooms, but we will maintain the 3 autism citywide classrooms in our school. So that's great news. And then the other piece that is still being kind of ironed out is we already have band, but the idea is to have band at every 5th grade in the district. And so, I mean, maybe you're aware of that also, but they are moving to provide that at every 5th grade in Minneapolis schools, that every 5th grader will be exposed to band and orchestra. So I think that's really exciting. It's something that we have valued and paid out of our own budget. And so now we'll be supported by the district in paying for that. And so we can continue providing instrumental music for our 5th graders.
So as a follow-up question, then, if band is an expense that now is going to be borne by the district rather than the school, is that substantial enough that that can help sort of ensure IB funding?
So the easy answer is no.
Okay.
And IB is also a budget line item. And so that should be also provided by the district for my IB coordinator, professional development, and world language. And so that every other year, that's been a specific line item in my budget that I have to use to pay for those three things. But the band, like I said, she's 0.3. So that's not very significant at all in terms of my entire budget.
Would it be maintained at a 0.3, or because of the new districts, like this is going to happen for all fifth grades? Is there an opportunity to have more of like increase in FTE there?
So I don't remember what the ratio is, but I think it's like a 0.2 for every 50 kids, and so it may maintain at a 0.3, and so that yeah.
So and then there's another follow-up with the bell time for us going later, and there's been communication from the district saying that they're looking at childcare options, and schools that are shifting up would have more early morning childcare. Schools that would make that's down shift, make sure they're more afternoon. I know Minneapolis Kids is already a site at Bancroft. It is going to keep it. It's not going to lose morning and afternoon coverage from Minneapolis Kids as a site, even though we're not a magnet.
Yep, good question. So we will have morning and afternoon Minneapolis Kids. So that will continue to be an option for families. And we will, I haven't been given the exact times and dates, but we will also continue after school programming like we have in the past years. And so I know in some cases they have it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 1 hour, or they do the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for the 2 hours.
Right.
Or somewhere around that. And so I have not gotten specifics on that yet, but ALC and community ed will continue at Bancroft in the afternoons.
So then as a follow-up to the follow-up, you are a student needing Minneapolis Kids, but you don't go to Bancroft. You get dropped at Minneapolis Kids, and then there's a bus. There's something that takes them to their next school. What is that process? Because I know that there are kids from other schools coming in the afternoon. I just don't know how that works in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Okay.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's kids that come in the morning that go to different schools.
Because in the afternoon there are. I mean, that much.
I know the afternoons are. I know for sure, for a fact, because we get kids from Wyndham that come to our school, and we got kids from Hale. One of our teachers' kids came from Seward. She got dropped off at our building for Minneapolis Kids. And so, and I think that might've just been, anyways, I know that kids come from Wyndham. I don't know how that works or if that happens in the morning. I'm not sure.
Is that okay?
Dropped off and then they get on a different bus. That seems logistically like it would be a lot, but maybe it did happen. I'm not aware of that.
This is like my fifth backup plan personally, because like I said, Bancroft is like walking distance from our house. What if I just walk my kid to the Minneapolis Kids? Because we have a contract. Yeah. But that's the thing that we just haven't figured out yet. And anyway, okay, well that's good to know. I mean, the in terms of the bell times and.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else, Diego?
Nope, not for me. I think I know this is our last time together in 2020. So hopefully 2021, fingers crossed, will be a lot more prosperous and healthy than 2020 has been. And again, I'm always thankful for everything that you all do for our school and your continued support of Bancroft. And thank you for continuing to send your kids and entrusting them in our hands. So it's greatly appreciated.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Diego, is there a site council coming up, or is that not till January?
Not till January.
Okay.
We just figured with all these PTO meetings and all these night events that we all needed a little break.
What are you trying to say?
But there will be, but like I said, we have a lot to do as far as revisioning or reimagining our community school. Our school will look a little bit different than it does now. And so I think that's another thing to think about and consider with the population shift and the new boundaries. So there's a lot that we need to just do as a site council and as a school.
Cool. Great. If that's it, thanks everybody. Alicia, stay on so I can give you the password, or if anyone else wants the password. I don't know.
I'm gonna stay
Right.
too.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
So,
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.